Hello, welcome to Trend Settings episode 102. We made it, guys.
Wow. To what?
102.
Wow.
This is a group settings podcast. We are Trend Settings, where we go through what's hot and what's trending every single week on
backwards.
Facebook Live, YouTube, and did you say we're backwards?
You said this is... you said it the wrong way around. Lucky
Oh, you said it wrong way around, you did. Did you?
This is much better than...
Okay, so we're Trend Settings. No, we're group settings. This is Trend Settings.
That's what I'm talking about.
Did I say it like that?
Yeah.
Man, on our other new podcast, Fresh Off the Hotcakes, I introduced myself as Nick.
Is that what it's called? Fresh off the hot cake?
No, that's a great name though.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
we should
save
do that podcast.
Make note. Fresh off the hot
Make note.
cakes.
Make a note of this.
Anyway, we're 2 episodes from 2 years worth of episodes.
Whoa.
What? Oh, yeah. Which that would make sense if we didn't take a break in the holidays.
So we've been
No,
more
but
than
now
2
there'll be
years.
enough episodes for someone to listen to
One a week.
once a week for 2 years.
Yeah, wow. Freaky.
I'm sure there's many people who have been waiting.
Should
for
definitely
this
not
moment.
listen to episode 3 though. It's the one where we sound like ghosts.
That's my favourite episode.
Man, I kind of want to go back and listen to the first few because they were crazy. But this week we are talking about... Is it called the Leadership Spill still, or is it morphed into a different name?
Hashtag
Yeah.
Ozpol.
Hashtag, yeah, Ozpol. Just...
I haven't even heard that mentioned at all. What does Ozpol
That's
mean?
that's the political hashtag for Australian politics.
Like
Ozpol.
Australian politics.
Yes.
Yes, I get it now. And
Yeah.
then we're talking about getting fired from NASA by Twitter.
Mm.
No, not by Twitter, on Twitter. And then we're talking about... Is it Usain or Usain?
Take your pick.
Usain? I think most people say Usain.
Hussein.
Usain Bolt.
You
And for some reason, he's come to the Central Coast Mariners. Of all the places in the world,
We're the only ones who would take him.
Oh.
that's not
That's
true
not
at
true.
all.
He tried in Germany.
He got...
Save it. That's Germany, though.
They do have much higher standards.
What's the third one? No. What's
Yo.
after that?
Deli Ali Challenge.
The Deli Ali Challenge. Can you do it? Can you not? It's harder than it looks, but easier than it is.
It's not.
We will see.
I had to get someone to step me right through it. Because I couldn't, I kept going like that.
Later.
Yeah.
Save it for later. Why is there only 3 of us, Ali? There's not normally only 3
Evelyn
of us.
Chapman, who was going for the record of being on as many podcasts in a row as possible as a wild card, had to call in sick today.
Lost the
Oh.
streak.
It got all too much.
Yeah.
It's hard to do that many podcasts in a row.
Tell me about it.
I wouldn't know.
That's why I'm straddling this wood.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Because you don't do that every week. But, we got 3, which is only the second time in the history of Trend Settings that we've had 3 people.
No, it's been more than that.
When else?
Well, I didn't write it down, but I know it's been more than that.
I can only think of one at a time.
When I'm away, at least twice there's been 3, and then I felt extra bad because I'm like, oh.
Well, I don't remember it. Hey, there's
Neither.
3 of us there and there's 3 of us here.
Whoa! 3
It's
Musketeers.
in the not
We
correct
should-
order. I'm in the right position.
The Trinity.
We should start that way.
Maybe we should talk about...
Ourselves more.
We're like the Liberal Party. We're just obsessed with ourselves.
Vote for me.
And Nick, Chris is out of focus because my lens is broken, is the short answer.
Oh.
But let's get into
Someone's
Ozpol while I check the actual focus on the camera.
I'm just a
Someone's
fuzzy
been
guy.
someone's been zooming in on Chris. Hey Nick. Hey. Anyway,
Yeah, stop looking at me, Nick.
guys, did you ever watch Toy Story and wish that Mr. Potato Head was our Prime Minister?
Often.
Because that wish could soon be granted.
Hmm.
Last week, I would have preferred Woody.
You would. You would.
Anyway, last week, or the week before last week, the Liberal Party of Australia, who is the governing party, well, the senior coalition party in our governing coalition, was debating in their party room a new energy policy because energy prices are crazy. So everyone's like, do something about it.
Help us out.
So they had a new energy policy, which was to, I don't know the details of it, but basically it was shoring up our energy prices somehow. I guess I can't remember what the mechanism was they were trying to use, and also was going to enact an emissions reduction target.
That sounds
It was actually the same target that Tony Abbott had put forward in previous policy back when he was Prime Minister.
Thanks, Turnbull.
But this time, Tony Abbott was vehemently opposed to that being part of the legislation because he's all like...
It's like he doesn't even stand for anything.
Yeah, it's like he just flips on whatever is popular at the moment. Or
It's like politicians are all monsters.
Well,
He's a particular type. He's the kind who will literally do anything to be in
he's a
power.
special kind of onion muncher.
Yeah.
I've never heard that term before.
So anyway, it basically started a revolt of the conservative wing of the Liberal Party, which is already the Conservative Party. But inside the Conservative Party, there is a right-hand side and a left-hand side, sort of. And the right-hand side's been losing votes to One Nation. They actually lost a lot of ground in a by-election recently in Queensland, Longman. And I think that scared them all because they're like, well, we're not going to have jobs anymore after the next election because it's not looking good. So if that swing had happened... at the next election, a lot of them would be out of a job, and I think One Nation would actually pick up quite a lot of seats. So,
and the most important thing is that they have jobs.
Yes, they are looking after number one. So basically what happened is they were like, some of them were going to cross the floor and vote against the government on the energy bill, which would have like meant they didn't have control of Parliament anymore.
Yeah.
So Malcolm Turnbull had to back down on it, and he had to go, okay, we're not going to have an emissions reduction target, because, you know, climate change is not that important, apparently.
That's what I hear.
Yeah, and then so he scrapped that in a massive showing of a lack of spine to the Conservative wing of his party, and then the Conservative wing of his party was basically leaking a bunch of stuff saying there's going to be a challenge to his prime ministership. This is basically how all leadership challenges start to the prime minister. The prime minister is the head of the Liberal Party. The Liberal Party and the Labor Party work differently now. They have different rules, but in the Liberal Party, you're the Prime Minister if you get the most votes out of all the sitting members of Parliament. So that's the senators and the members of Parliament. If you have a majority of them, you're the head of the party, and if you're the head of the party, you're the Prime Minister.
Did he only ditch the environmental target scheme to garner favour with these blokes?
Yes.
Okay.
And he ditched it before the first, the rumblings were kind of happening.
Yeah.
But this is what they do. They basically start leaking to the media, saying that there is there's a push going on to destabilise Malcolm Turnbull. The people who are destabilising Malcolm Turnbull will be the people who push that narrative because they want it to be in the media.
Bloody hell.
Because then that helps garner support in public. So they'll basically have a bunch of probably media people like Andrew Bolt and Ray Hadley and Alan Jones.
Usain Bolt.
Yeah. Probably not Usain Bolt because he's not white. But... and they will basically start going, oh, yeah, that would be a good idea. Maybe it should be Peter Dutton, who should be Prime Minister instead. And everyone's like, whoa,
who in their right mind would actually think that?
Queenslanders.
Right.
So maybe no one.
What?
Wow.
They are the worst people.
Shots fired.
The worst people.
They really are. Anyway, Queensland. But anyway, they're basically making a bet that if they have Peter Dutton as their Prime Minister, they will win enough votes in Queensland to make up for the votes that he would lose in New South Wales and Victoria and the other states, which are more moderate and not so we hate refugees and all that. We are a little bit. I think everyone in Australia hates boat people to a certain degree. But
hate them.
Do we?
Well, we've been okay with them being in there for 5 years now, so I'd say that's the only reasonable explanation for it. But yeah, so anyway, on Tuesday, old Malky Turnbull saw this was all happening in the background. Bit of Game of Thrones stuff going on, and he's like, I'm just going to head this off. I'm going to make it happen now when they're not ready for it. So he called a meeting. He called a meeting, and he was like, we're going to have a vote right now.
Ooh, good move.
Yeah, so that's what he thought. And he won that, 48 to 33?
Which they need 42 to do it, right?
Yeah, well, they need a majority. The majority was 42, and I can't do the math that quickly. 35. He got 48 to 35. So he won it comfortably, right? Oh, actually...
Not that comfortable.
No, it's not that comfortable. And it was Peter Dutton who put his hand up saying, yes, I will challenge you for the leadership. He lost. He was the minister of the. He had the home interior affairs portfolio. It's some like weird home affairs portfolio. It's a weird conglomeration of a bunch of portfolios that he just absorbed into one, like immigration, security. Peter Dutton was the most powerful minister in Australia.
I thought he was the immigration minister.
They absorbed security into it as well, like so domestic security came under it, ASIO,
That's like
border
the army,
force. Right? No, defense is still a different one.
Right.
That's not home affairs. Anyway, so he was a really powerful minister. He lost that vote on Tuesday. He stepped down to the backbench because that's like what you do when you lose. Because your prime minister is your captain, really, your leader.
Shame.
If you're on the front bench, you're supposed to support him. So if you are now standing against him, you can't really be in the front bench. If you go to the back bench, you also get to start proposing your own ideas. You start to get to say, I would do this if I was in charge. Which he did. So he started coming out saying, maybe we should take the GST off electricity. I think it would cost, apparently, and then they did the numbers on that. Scott Morrison came out saying that would cost us $7.5 billion. I think it was annually, which is insane. And it's also out of the GST, so that comes from, like, the states have to agree to it. So basically you'd have to give them the money instead.
But
which we don't have.
But once he's said it, it sounds nice to Granny at home.
Yeah, but everyone I think most people understand we don't have $7.5 billion extra.
Yeah.
In the meantime, Malcolm Turnbull had already scrapped the corporate tax cuts that they were proposing. It was sort of Labor's number one ammunition against them.
Mm-hmm.
Was they were like, the Liberal Party is gonna cut taxes for companies. Like, ordinary Australians are clearly not going to be on board with that. Whether or not it's a good idea, I'm actually not sure. I feel like everywhere in the world's cutting their taxes. Anyway, it's not important.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. So that brings us to today, where Peter Dutton. So this is interesting. Like a lot of times in previous instances where a prime minister has been overthrown, voted out by his own party. It's been a two strike process. Like the first vote, the prime minister wins, and then the second vote they don't win.
Yeah.
So it happened to Bob Hawke, happened to Kevin Rudd. I think he did have something similar happen to him.
I mean, that's just how it plays out.
That's how it plays out. There's like a first one where you sort of see the lie of the land.
The lay of the land.
The lay of the lie. Those lies are laying.
There's a lot of lies.
There's a lot of lies and a lot of laying. And then everyone comes out going, we support the Prime Minister. And then in the
100%.
background, everyone is like making phone calls up till late in the night going, I'll give you this portfolio if you... It's very Game of Thrones. You know how they're like always offering, like, you'll be the lord of this if you support me.
I'll commit 10,000
That's what they will be doing. So like one of the Liberal MPs was I can't remember her name, but she was really angry and she was like basically talking to the media saying how upset she was that at the behaviour of her party, saying she'd been called up, offered this ministry, all this stuff if she would switch her vote to Peter Dutton, and it was like it's all very Game of Thrones and very
House
like
of Cards.
It's like how are they getting away? It just that sounds like corruption. Or are they allowed to do this?
No. That's just the system we have. The Prime Minister is voted in by the party, not by us.
No, I mean the wheeling and dealing to get the Prime Minister out of the thing.
Well, that's how things
how things work.
Go along generally, but they're just using it in this.
I don't like. I mean, whether it works will be up to the Australian electorate at the next election. There's one due relatively soon. That's what's pushed this on because Malcolm Turnbull's lost a whole bunch of polls in a row. They're all showing that Labor's going to win. So they have to do something in their minds to protect their jobs because they don't have any principles. They basically only care about keeping their jobs. So
if they're in power, they get paid more or something?
They get paid. If they're a member of parliament, they get paid. Some of them will lose that, so they won't have a job.
If Labor wins.
Yeah.
Shouldn't it be harder to kick the Prime Minister out, though?
So that's where Labor changed their rules, I think. So it is a bit harder with the Labor Party to do it. I think the rank and file members of the party get to have a say. They used to not have that, which is how they got the Kevin Rudd, Julia Gillard, Kevin Rudd thing. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure how they haven't realised that it's I hope it's a really bad idea for them to change prime ministers. I hope the Australian electorate just goes, no, we're sick of this. If you do that, we're not going to vote for you in the next election. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
We're like, if you vote them in, you're rewarding that kind of behavior. It will have worked.
But it's, to me, a useless bystander of politics. I see it, and I'm just like, I'm already like barely voting with any information and like care factor. To me, it just makes me go, oh man, like what is the point of all this crap? Like, aren't you supposed to be like doing government things, not squabbling?
Well, yeah. Well, that was the leader of the Greens party. That's what his point was in his speech in Parliament. Richard Di Natale was making the point that he listed all the issues that are facing Australia. Like, we've got a drought in massive parts of Australia and farmers doing it really tough. We've got extremely high energy prices. Climate change is a real thing. That's possibly going to make droughts worse and fires worse and all that stuff.
Great Barrier Reef's dead.
Great Barrier Reef's dying. We've got children in detention still, 5 years on. It's yeah, it was just like a whole bunch of nightmare things going on, and then these guys are so focused on polls that they can't actually just do their job. Which is funny, because if they just did their job, they might actually win.
Is there a crazy idea? Is there a way the public can just oust everyone that's in the thing?
No, that's
Okay.
what an election's for.
Okay.
That sounds like a coup.
Well, funny you should say that.
That's like a peaceful coup, though, because you can do a peaceful coup, right?
I'll be in charge.
Yeah, we only do peaceful coups.
Right.
This is basically a coup.
Okay.
Thanks, Nick Coup.
Yeah, yeah, the coup. We son of coup. Thought of South Park just then for some reason.
I don't know.
Anyway, so what happened today was a few ministers, a few frontbench ministers who were quite powerful in the government, they'd voted for Turnbull on the first time, the Tuesday vote, and they basically, because of all the calls that were going around, they had decided that Malcolm Turnbull no longer had the support of the party, and they went to his office and said, look, we need to have another meeting, we need to have another vote, we think the numbers are no longer with you. In the meantime, there's like a petition being passed around between members of the party, because that's how you get a meeting to happen. You just need like a 2-signature petition.
Support.
Yeah, and then traditionally it's been a 2-signature petition, but one of Malcolm Turnbull's plays has been to say, I won't, because it's still up to the Prime Minister ultimately whether he calls that meeting or not, because he's the head of the party.
The most interesting part about this petition thing is they could have done it without actually having the petition. It's because he's like, show me, and it doesn't seem like they're showing him, right?
Yeah, so because it looks bad if you're a member of Parliament and you're doing all this crap, right?
Yeah.
None of them actually want to have their names on this thing, because it's a paper trail that shows that they voted for it and they wanted it to happen. Because everyone in Australia is going, this is ridiculous, why are you guys doing this? And you'd basically putting your name on it.
So he's being really smart.
He's being smart, and it's really ticking off supporters of Dutton, because he's just not calling. But he's not doing this because he thinks he'll actually survive, because he's holding off on having this meeting. He's doing it because Scott Morrison has now put his hand in the ring, and also Julie Bishop, who is his deputy.
Could split up the pie.
Yeah. So I think basically Turnbull's tactics at the moment is like, I just don't want Dutton to win.
Divide
I think
and conquer.
everyone can be on the side of that.
You'd be surprised. Queenslanders, man. And also Ray Hadley and Alan Jones, who is the most listened to radio show in like Sydney, is Alan Jones.
Because if I know anything
And
from
Andrew
Instagram, he is bad.
Potatoes.
Yeah. Oh, so the funny thing is, once he started putting his hand in the ring for hat in the ring to be Prime Minister, he started trying to soften his image. So he had like a press conference where he was smiling and laughing.
I did notice all the thumbnails of him started suddenly changing. I was
Yeah,
like, what happened to
he
the
has
ones
to.
where he looked like demons and
Well,
orcs?
he looked like a demon because he was the Home Affairs Minister and he was trying to be like the little Stalin or something.
Yeah.
That's why he bullied. He's like he's
the
the
vibes.
immigration minister. His job is to look tough, because the only reason they have these offshore camps is because they think it makes them look tough. It's a tough ministerialship. I don't want to say tough, because it makes people feel sympathetic for these people.
Complicated.
It's complicated because he's trying to play. You can't win the prime ministership without people liking you.
Yes.
You can't be the tough guy if you're going to be Prime Minister. That's why Tony Abbott would eat onions.
If Malcolm Turnbull just didn't sign this and then came out and gave a really inspirational speech and said, I am not going to sign this, I'm going to stand for Australians, I'm going to do this, this and this, and it's going to be awesome, and we're going to go to the election and do whatever.
Nah.
It's going to happen.
Wouldn't matter. It wouldn't. Like, as soon as they have a meeting with the party, this vote would happen.
Oh, it can happen.
Yeah, the only thing he's not doing right now is he's not calling for a meeting. It's up to him whether this meeting happens, and he's just saying, I'm not going to have the meeting.
Can you just not have any meetings?
I think you need to have a meeting with your MPs at some point in order to govern.
Well,
which he's saying he'll do it tomorrow.
Yes, so he's held off till tomorrow. So what that's allowed to happen is that Scott Morrison and Julie Bishop are now able to phone around to all the MPs and try and gather support for their own case to be Prime Minister.
Is Julie Bishop's deal? She sounds cool.
She's a deputy prime minister. She's been deputy prime minister for a long time.
Yeah.
To a bunch of people. Or deputy leader. Sorry. And she's always said that she's like loyal. I think she switched sides from Tony Abbott though to Malcolm Turnbull when Malcolm Turnbull did this to Tony Abbott.
Understandable.
Yeah. Don't feel sorry for Malcolm Turnbull. He did the same thing. Like,
I don't feel sorry for any of them.
Yeah. Don't feel sorry for any of these people.
I just don't want Dutton in charge.
Yeah. No thing. I kind of. Yeah. I don't know. I'm like, I want him to be in charge because he's the correct face for their policies. Because Malcolm Turnbull made it seem like they were actually nice, but they're doing horrible things. So it's like, your face should match what you're doing.
That's what I thought.
And that's who Dutton. That Dutton is the face of your policy right now.
Why is everyone upset with Dutton? Malcolm Turnbull is in charge. He could change things.
I have an ignorant question.
He had no spine.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. If he did.
So
he's complicit.
Yeah, absolutely. Malcolm Turnbull's not better. He's just like the nice face on the horrible cake.
That's what I'm saying. Why does everyone hate Dutton so much? It's a whole gang.
Yeah.
I have an ignorant question.
Yeah.
If we voted for someone who wasn't the Labour Party, would they be nicer to refugees?
If you voted for the Labour Party, I assume they would be able to come to a solution where they actually get those kids off there sooner. Because the Labour Party put those kids there in the first place.
Yeah.
That was before Tony Abbott won an election. But the whole time the Liberal Party's been in charge, they haven't managed to get... And it's not a large number of people. They haven't been able to get them off there. Even though most of them have... Most, if not all, have been shown to be legitimate asylum seekers. So... The equivalent is someone ran to your house saying, help, help, someone's trying to kill me, and you put them in a cage in front of your house, and you're like, well, I don't want more people to come.
Just hang on.
Wait, so the people there aren't like on rotation, it's the same people?
No, it's the same. There's no rotation.
I thought they were just using the island as like a
No.
middle
There's
thing.
like no more people coming. They're the same people for 5 years.
So it's pretty much a jail.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And
like,
other
I know it was
countries,
bad.
like New Zealand, offered to take them, and we refused to let them do it.
We love it.
So I can only conclude that we hate people like that.
Yeah.
It's the only logical conclusion. But anyway, that horrible policy is the responsibility of every Liberal Party member, not just Dutton. So I agree with you on that. And I actually kind of think he should be the face of their party because he is their party. That's what they do.
One thing you haven't mentioned, I'm not sure if you're getting to it or not, is the whole Dutton eligibility thing.
Yeah, so that's the other play.
Right.
Malcolm Turnbull's made a couple of plays here. He's lengthened the time to allow Scott Morrison and Julie Bishop to have a chance to get the numbers. He's also referred Peter Dutton to the Solicitor General, who I guess is the top lawyer of the government, to check whether he's actually eligible to sit in Parliament, because he has a stake in a trust fund. Because he's a rich kid.
Oh, that's right.
Which owns childcare centres, which get a lot of money from the Commonwealth government through childcare subsidies. And you're part of Section 44, the thing that got everyone with the citizenship. Same section, different part. It says that you can't have any pecuniary interests in government. So you can't have business interests that benefits from government. Which is actually...
Fair enough.
It's quite broad. Like... Childcare subsidies aren't really a specific... It's not something you win because you're in Parliament, right? It's something you get because you're in childcare.
Yeah.
So I don't think he should be disqualified. But it also... It's basically throwing a spanner in the works in that sense. And the other thing he did was he said so he split the vote. On Friday, it's going to be 2 votes. First vote's going to be whether or not he should be Prime Minister. So no one will be running against him in that. It's just sort of like a confidence vote in yes or no. Should I still be Prime Minister? If he loses that one, then he's going to step aside and have an open field ballot. And it'll be Dutton, Scott Morrison, and Julie Bishop. Presumably, it could change tomorrow.
And we can't vote for any of this.
No. This is just the members of Parliament.
Okay. If they did a Facebook survey, I'll do it in a second.
From the Liberal Party. And so the thing is, the government only has a 1-seat margin in the lower house. The lower house is the one that determines who's in government. If you have a majority there, you're in government. So they only have 1 seat, so he quits and they don't have a majority anymore. Also, the crossbencher who supports the government right now is like the only reason they have a majority. She's saying she might not support them, depends on what the result is. So we might not have this lot in charge anyway after tomorrow.
And one other thing I heard that was just kind of crazy is there's 3 ministers doing the job of all of them. They've all resigned or whatever.
So they all resigned because they wanted to have this vote. So that was how you do it. You say, Prime Minister, I'm not doing this job anymore. I'm going to resign.
How many are supposed to be?
It's like 20 or 30, I think. Because there's ministers and assistant ministers and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And they have a thing called question time. And you have to direct questions towards the relevant minister, depending on what area the questions are in. And there was only 3 guys who could do it today.
Because Dutton's one of them. Turnbull's another one.
There's heaps. There's just heaps. That, like Matthias Cormann, Michaelia Cash, they've all tendered their resignation. So it was just these 3 other people representing all of them, and it was just a complete farce, which is why Bill Shorten and Richard Di Natale were able to go ham on them, because there was just no one to
Does that mean they're getting things through that they shouldn't be able to get through?
No, it's question time. It's not a vote.
Right.
Yeah, they actually suspended Parliament.
Oh, cool. Is that good?
No.
Okay.
It's embarrassing. But they basically said, we can no longer function as a government, so we're going to suspend it. So they stayed long enough to vote in suspension of Parliament, and then they left.
Do they get any repercussions for doing this?
Hopefully.
Yeah,
Hopefully Australians go,
we don't want a fine or something.
No.
I get a fine for going 10Ks over a bloody speed limit. They stop taking care of the country for a couple of days. Yeah. That's important.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully there's repercussions. And they all lose
at
their
least
jobs.
pay the poor 3 guys more or something.
I don't say poor 3 guys, they have souls.
Yeah.
There's a funny story in relation to this. So there's a guy named Peter Dutton, who's a 30-year-old African-American guy in America.
I saw this, actually.
And he's been getting tweets and DMs and stuff, and he's basically saying, I wish people in Australia would look at my profile and realize I'm a 30-year-old black man before sending me tweets and DMs. But then all these people have started tweeting him going, yeah, we know you're not this Peter Dutton, but we still want you to be our Prime Minister.
Which he said he's open to it, right?
We're really sorry to bother you, but would you like to be our Prime Minister? That was a response to him saying he's not that Peter Dutton. It's great. Yeah. Good times. Right?
What do you think's going to happen tomorrow?
What a circus.
I think, I actually suspect one of Julie Bishop or Scott Morrison will realise they don't have the numbers. I think Peter Dutton's going to win because he had the initiative. I don't think Malcolm Turnbull's going to win the first vote. And then they're not going to have a majority, but they're on break for 15 days or something till September 10th. And then it's going to be very interesting when they come back.
What's break? They're going on holiday.
Yeah, there was already a break happening. Parliament, I think.
Because that's what they need, right? More time off.
To be fair, there's a few people in Parliament. I don't know how any of them can be in the Liberal Party anymore.
They can't all be terrible people, right?
No, they're not. It's just the ones. It's like a system where the worst people get to the top.
Yeah, because you watch House of Cards, R.I.P. What's his face?
Kevin Space?
Yeah.
Do you want him to rest in peace?
No,
his new movie came out this week.
Yeah, it made $10 or something. Didn't it? Wasn't that the story?
It made $430.
That's crazy. That has to be made up. But anyway, you watch that show and you think, oh, this is exaggerated, and then you hear stuff like this. You're like, it's not exaggerated at all. It's ridiculous.
Well, there's less murders, but
yeah, hopefully.
That's true.
You don't know.
Well, that's half of it is him covering up stuff. So they're how would you know?
Yeah, you wouldn't. but they're not good people. It's not a system that rewards good people. It rewards people who know how to play the game. It's like Survivor. You know the show Survivor?
Yeah, I saw that Batuta article.
Oh yeah, I wasn't even thinking about that. No, but it's like in the sense that it rewards it doesn't reward honorable, forthright, truthful behavior. It rewards you for stabbing people in the back really well.
Do you think this government thing's going to change anytime soon?
What?
Just the way it works?
Well,
No.
The Labour Party changed theirs.
Yeah, the Labour Party did change theirs, so it is harder to switch. But I kind of actually like it to a degree. I prefer it to the presidential system in America because I don't think it should matter the one person who's in charge so much. It shouldn't become a
It sure makes them seem less important.
popularity. Yeah, and they shouldn't be. It's just kind of really like it's gotten ridiculous. But like part of it is also because we're all not voting for the major parties anymore. So they're so freaked out by us voting. Well, not us, but Queenslanders voting for One Nation that they're doing this.
Bloody Queenslanders, what the hell?
I don't know.
Man,
There's no way they'll get the win, though, right?
Who?
One Nation.
oh, well, they can win seats.
No, they can win enough power though to pull politics to
And
the
then
right.
the Liberal or Labour Party will have to talk to them if they want to get something through.
It's how it is in Europe though. There's like a lot more parties that win seats, and then they always have to form coalitions every time.
Does that make it more better or worse?
It makes it more complicated.
That's just what we needed.
There's more different voices represented.
Isn't that good, though?
It can be, but it also makes it a lot more messy because you have to compromise.
Democracy, right?
Yeah.
Guys?
I learned a lot about the government this week. I'll probably forget it in a couple of weeks, but
Yeah, I'll forget it till the next time this happens.
and I'll be like,
hasn't been that long.
why do we even vote? Why do you fine me for not voting? Know what I'm saying?
I do. I got fined twice.
Yeah. I didn't get fined for ages because I wasn't registered, which was great. And then idiot me registered.
I just didn't change my bloody address, guys. Don't call the cops.
Okay. New topic.